Look at these new Swedish matches. No more flint and steel.
Careful, those phosphorus ones are poison.
These are different. They only ignite on the special box strip.
You're stranded in the wilderness. No lighter, no matches, no way to make fire. In just a few hours, hypothermia could kill you. In a few days, you'd starve. Your body would shut down because you couldn't create heat. For 200,000 years, humans lived exactly like this. One bad rainstorm could take away everything. One wet night could mean death for your entire family. But then someone invented something tiny, something simple, something that fits in your pocket. This little stick didn't just make life easier, it literally saved our species from extinction. And the story of how we got it? By the end of this video, you'll never look at a match the same way again. Before matches, making fire was your full-time job. But here's what nobody tells you. The most popular method of making fire actually killed thousands of people every year. We'll get to that nightmare in a second. Let's go back to 1820. You wake up in the morning. Before you do anything else, before breakfast, before getting dressed, before anything, you check one thing. Did the fire die overnight? If it did, you're in serious trouble. You have two terrible options. Option one, walk to your neighbor's house and ask to borrow fire. Yes, really. People borrowed fire like we borrow sugar today. You'd carry it back in a special container, hoping it didn't go out on the way home. Option two, spend the next 30 minutes trying to create sparks with flint and steel. And here's the thing about flint and steel. It works sometimes if you have perfect technique. If your materials are completely dry, if you're lucky, you'd strike the flint against steel over and over. Rich families hired servants whose entire job, their only job, was keeping fires alive 24/7. Imagine paying someone just to sit by a fireplace all day and night, making sure it never went out. Entire communities kept eternal flames burning in public squares. Why? Because restarting fire was such a nightmare that it was easier for the whole town to share one fire that never died. When fire died in winter, people literally froze to death in their own homes, not because they didn't have wood, but because they couldn't light it. Your ancestors lived in constant fear of their fire going out. The first match ever created could explode in your face, and it gets worse. These matches were so dangerous that governments tried to ban them, but people kept using them anyway. Why? The answer reveals something dark about human nature. In 1826, a British chemist named John Walker was trying to invent something completely different. He was mixing chemicals, and he accidentally scraped a stick coated with chemicals across his workbench. It burst into flames instantly. Walker had just created the first friction match by complete accident. Here's how these early matches worked. You had to strike them against sandpaper with the exact right amount of force. Too hard, they exploded in your hand. Too soft, nothing happened. And these matches contained white phosphorus, one of the most toxic substances on Earth. Factory workers who made these matches developed something called phossy jaw. Their jawbones literally rotted away while they were still alive. The phosphorus fumes would get into their mouths and start eating through their bones. But here's the really dark part. Children as young as 5 years old worked in match factories. Why children? Because their small hands were perfect for the delicate work of dipping matchsticks into chemicals. These kids would develop phossy jaw by age 10, and yet people kept buying these matches, despite knowing they could explode, despite knowing they were made by dying children. Why? Because the alternative, going back to spending hours making fire the old way, was even worse. That's how desperate humanity was for easy fire. Once matches became safe, everything changed overnight. But there's one industry that matches revolutionized that you'd never expect. And it's the reason you're watching this video right now. Let's start with factories. Before matches, factories could only operate during daylight hours. Why? Because workers needed natural light to see. But with matches, workers could instantly light oil lamps and gas lamps. Suddenly, factories could run 24/7. Night shifts became possible. Production doubled, then tripled. The Industrial Revolution literally couldn't have happened without reliable matches. Matches allowed humans to explore places that were previously deadly. deep caves, fire on demand meant you could cook food and stay safe from predators. Here's something you've never thought about. Restaurants and street food only became possible because of matches. Before matches, food vendors couldn't just set up anywhere. They needed an existing fire source. But with matches, a vendor could wheel a cart to any street corner. Crime rates dropped in cities because people could light street lamps reliably. Before matches, lighting a street lamp took several minutes per lamp. So many streets stayed dark, and criminals loved that darkness. With matches, one person could light 100 street lamps in an hour. Streets became safer. Crime went down. Medical breakthroughs accelerated because doctors could sterilize their tools with fire whenever they needed to, not just when fire happened to be available. Before matches, a doctor might need to perform emergency surgery, but if there was no fire available to sterilize the tools, they'd have to choose: operate with dirty tools and risk infection, or spend 30 minutes making fire while the patient bled out. Matches removed that horrible choice. And here's the industry you didn't expect. Movie theaters, they needed matches to light the projectors. Early photography required matches to light the magnesium flash powder. In 1844, a Swedish inventor named Gustav Erik Pasch created the safety match, and it saved millions of lives. But here's the twist. He refused to patent it. His reason why will change how you think about innovation forever. Before Pasch, matches had all the explosive chemicals on the match head. This meant they could ignite from friction, heat, or even just bumping around in your pocket. People regularly caught on fire because matches in their pockets spontaneously ignited. Pasch had a simple but genius idea. He put some chemicals on the match head and different chemicals on the striking surface of the box. The match could only ignite when you struck it against that specific surface. This meant matches couldn't accidentally light in your pocket. They couldn't explode if you dropped them. They couldn't ignite from getting too warm. You had complete control. Fire only happened when you wanted it to happen. The results were immediate and dramatic. Deaths from match-related accidents dropped by 95% almost overnight. Burns from spontaneous match ignition, gone. Explosions from matches in pockets, gone. Children accidentally setting themselves on fire, gone. But here's what makes Pasch a hero. He refused to patent the safety match. His reasoning? He believed every human being on Earth deserved access to safe fire. If he patented it, only wealthy people in wealthy countries could afford it. Poor people would still be stuck with the exploding toxic matches. Within a decade, manufacturers worldwide were producing safety matches. The price dropped so low that even the poorest person could afford them. Pasch's decision to give up potential millions in patent money meant that safe, reliable fire became available to every human being on Earth. One man's choice to prioritize human life over profit literally saved millions of people.